See Mike measure. See Mike cut. See Mike screw in wood. See Mike build a wall.
Don't try this at home, kids.
See Mike go in a hole. I had some 3/4 inch poplar 1x3 that I was edging here with a router, putting a round over on it, and that was going to be the leading edge of the top piece. And I extended it about an inch over the rest of the piece. Then I brought some brown craft paper and we started to make a few more templates. The pizza boxes actually worked better, but Tony couldn't eat enough pizza from the previous day. I taped this whole thing together actually and brought it outside where I started cutting on Tony's buckets. I ruined 3 of them. Oops. Once again back to the floor since I ruined the buckets. Now I'm trying to find out where to put the opening in that the door will sit in. Sanding down to 220. And applying the trim pieces with liquid nails and 18 gauge nails. I needed one more piece of trim, so I went back to the shop that night and I have some maple hardwood plywood 1/2 inch thick sitting around from a vanity build I did. So I just used that and I cut a 6-inch piece. That would be the final piece behind the baseboard. I couldn't cut just one piece because it is 104 inches long, so I had to rip 2 pieces. And then it was time to make the door. I didn't want to use a plunge cut with a circular saw, and my jigsaw sucked, and I didn't have a squared piece of plywood left, so I just used my router and I set up a jig with my straight edge, and this actually worked out pretty good. Nice clean cuts with the router. At this point, I was starting to feel like I lived at Tony's house. I should have just taken over the guest room for the week. Starting to secure all the plywood now. In hindsight, I think I would have put this in last and the front edge on last because of the window trim. When I went to put these corners in, I couldn't put them in one whole piece. So I had to do it in 2 pieces, which was pretty disappointing. Back at Tony's yet again, putting in the baseboard. one long piece. I don't like to have baseboard, if you can help it, be mitered in the middle. I don't like that seam being shown. So I actually cut this as one long piece. It was about 147 inches long. And then that night, it was time to make the finger hole in the pop-up door. So I just put a Forstner bit in the drill press, and that worked perfectly. Then it was time to edge band. Since this is getting painted and I don't want to see the ends of the plywood board, this stuff is pretty easy to use. You just cut it about 1 inch length longer on each end on all 4 sides. And then I did some reading up on how not to get gook on your iron, and they state, they being whomever, you can use aluminum foil or wax paper. So we always have aluminum foil in the house, and I did not want to ruin our only iron. So this serves as a barrier between the glue on the back of the edge banding, and it worked out nice. Set the iron on the cotton setting and I was good to go. I would iron one side, flip it over, and then trim the other side while the bottom was cooling off. This is a pretty nifty little trimmer. I'll have a link in the description of all the tools I used in this build. Then it was just sand it smooth and I was set to go. Installing the base shoe molding was the last step of molding to be done. And then it was time to caulk everything on the entire build. And then prime it. And then come back and sand the primer down to 220 and put on the top coat of paint, which I brushed and rolled on. Turned out really nice. Although when I put the piano hinge on the door and tried to set the door, all of a sudden it didn't fit. So I had to take the door home and trim off about 1/8 of an inch off the door. Man, all this work's making me thirsty. Gotta have a beer fridge in the shop. Go Blue. I didn't go to Michigan, but one of my best friends did, so I'm a supporter. All right, put that piano hinge on. This is pretty simple. I set the door on a painter's tarp that I use to keep it from getting scratched. And then installing it the next day. It turned out really nice. The only thing I didn't like was after it was closed, it would pop up about 1/8 of an inch. So Tony's going to put a magnet on it that will hold it down, and then they will also have cushions put up on top of it. That's one happy Tony. Thank you very much for watching part 2 of the bay window seat build. If you haven't seen part 1, you can click the video right here and watch the first part. I'd like to take this moment to thank Tony and Sue for allowing me to build this unit in their home. Hiring someone to work in your house is a very personal decision, and I'm honored that they gave me the chance to do it, to build memories together. So once again, thank you very much. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Consider subscribing by hitting my moon down in the corner. And of course, share if you know anybody that's looking to do a job like this. Thanks again, guys. Have a good day.